Alexandra Levine welcomes you to the Alexandra Levine Live Podcast. Today, we've got a packed show, from breaking news to informative topics that will keep you well informed. So, please click the subscribe button to get notified of her upcoming episodes. If you like what Alexandra talks about, then please share the Alexandra Levine Live to others. Alexandra also looks forward to your comments during this episode. Tonight's Alexandra Levine Live Podcast starts now.
Well, hello, everyone. Hello. This is Alexandra Levine live with the America's Pulse Network. You are all in with me tonight, Alexandra Levine. We have some major breaking news. There actually was some breaking news that happened during the Pulse last night. So Graham Platner, the Democrat nominee for the U.S. Senate race in Maine, officially withdrew his campaign. Actually, during the Pulse last night, around 8:30 p.m. last night, he withdrew his entire campaign. The Democrats have less than a week to find somebody to replace this guy. As you know, this guy was known for his Nazi tattoo, but all these allegations, these sexual allegations were coming out against him, to the point where they were pouring the kitchen sink at him because his numbers just weren't good. And Bernie Sanders and all these people that endorsed him called him up and said, you got to leave. You got to get out. This is really bad. You got all these allegations against you and your poll numbers suck. And we'll get into that in segment one. And the next breaking news, it has been confirmed that Mitch McConnell did go into cardiac arrest June 14th. Some people say, like Scott Jennings and some senators say, that they've talked to him on the phone. He's recovering in a hospital in Kentucky. He's doing well. But legitimate sources, such as investigative reporter Laura Loomer and others, have confirmed that he's actually brain dead based on how long he was in cardiac arrest. The guy is like 84 years old. When you're in cardiac arrest for a minute, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, there's no way that you're coherent. There's no way that you're sitting on a phone with someone for 2 to 3 hours, as these other elected officials or political pundits said that he was. So there's a lot of discrepancies and a lot of cover-ups into Mitch McConnell. As you know, according to Senator John Thune, because Senator Mitch McConnell has not been in the U.S. Senate, he's holding up the passing of the Save America Act, which we all know is BS. But they're saying that he's holding up a lot of things. So we'll get to the bottom of this right now, going into segment one. So segment one starts with Platner is out. As I mentioned before last night, Graham Platner, he officially withdrew his campaign. He didn't just drop out or suspend his campaign. He said, I'm done. I've had, people have called me. I'm reflecting with my family. And let's put up the first slide with Fox News. So Fox News quoted Mr. Platner, quote, "We are suspending campaign operations." A visibly emotional Graham Platner announced the end of his Senate campaign after multiple sexual misconduct allegations, including a rape accusation, torpedoed his bid. Platner claimed that suspending the campaign was not an admission of guilt, instead arguing the decision was driven by, quote, "the structures that are being taken away from us by those in power," unquote. Platner continues to deny the allegations, previously calling them, quote, "troubling, serious, and false." Now, I heard the emotional video that he gave about how he didn't do anything, everything is false, and how he really didn't want to get out of the race. Then he tried to make a deal with the devil, what we call the art of the deal, to say, I'll drop out of the race, but I get to pick my successor. Well, the issue is that the person that he wants to succeed him is also under sexual allegation, or has also been accused of sexual assault, and there's sexual allegations against his successor as well. So the whole thing is just ridiculous. This also gives the Democrat governor, Beshear, time to figure out what he's going to do. A lot of people said that maybe he'll pick Thomas Massie to fill in for the seat until they pick someone to fill in for Mr. Platner. I disagree with that as well. I don't think that's going to happen. But this is just so horrible that it got so far. The fact that the Democrat Party pushed this Nazi, knowing he was a Nazi, but then because they heard rape allegations, that's bigger than being a Nazi. I mean, the guy got naked at his brother's wedding. The guy is a disgrace. The guy, I think, masturbated in the open. I mean, this guy is a disgusting human being. He never should have gotten the platform that he got. And I say good riddance to bad rubbish. But this also reminds me of a former Congressman, Eric Swalwell from California, and how the Democrats had to get rid of him because there was too many people running for the Democrat gubernatorial race. So they said, well, we tried to get him on Fang Fang. That wasn't enough. So now we're going to also say that these women said that Mr. Swalwell sexually assaulted him. There's actually a video of Mr. Swalwell doing explicit things with a minor. I mean, it's all on video. So when you see the videos between Swalwell as well as Mr. Platner, I want you guys to see the video. I want the American people to decide if it sounds like the same goodbye campaign video, so to speak. Let's play the video.
That you see and hear from me directly.
I wanted to directly address the troubling, serious, and false allegations against me.
These allegations of sexual assault are flat false.
Any accusation of non-consensual behavior is categorically false.
I'm going to spend time with my family and friends, and I appreciate those who have reached out to me to show support.
We are taking the time to reflect on the best path forward for the state that I love, the people that I love.
Now, my question to my audience, do you feel that it sounds the same? Does that sound like a sincere apology? Does it sound like maybe Platner copied from the Swalwell book? I mean, that to me was not sincere. That didn't touch my heart. That didn't seem like a guy who really was sorry, or he really just had ultimate remorse. I mean, of course, the guy, Mr. Platner, is still saying that none of these things are true. I mean, again, the Democrat Party, the socialist part, of the Democrat Party with Bernie Sanders and Pocahontas, and even some people that are part of the squad, Congressman Hakeem Jeffries, they pushed this guy forward. They embraced him. They loved this guy. And my friend Donald Willinger said, what is going on with the Democrats? I thought all Democrats were excluded from accountability. And this, unfortunately, is part of a section of the Democrat Party where they're moving into this direction where they support Nazis, they support these vigilantes, they support these illegals, they support these rapists. I mean, this is disgusting. But the funny thing is that they didn't get rid of him because he had a Nazi tattoo. They got rid of him because his poll numbers weren't high enough. There was one poll that said he was at 32%. And of course, the incumbent Susan Collins was up like 50+%. And as you know, in elections, if an incumbent or anybody is above 50%, chances are that person usually wins, the person that is above 50%. That's just statistics. Also, it is true that statistically incumbents do end up getting reelection unless they have a challenger who is, holding their feet to the fire and calling them out and calling out their record and so forth, and really, making them work for it. But the fact that I heard so much about this Platner guy, I never want to hear his name again. I never want to see him anywhere. I want him out of politics. And, time to reflect. I'm disgusted that his wife still stands next to him. She's okay with this. He cheated on her when they were married, when they were engaged. I mean, they say statistically, if your spouse cheats on you even before you get married, chances are he's going to cheat on you when you're married, and the marriage is not going to survive. But the fact that the Democrat Party, again, pushed this guy through, and thinking that they could just screw the American people, screw the people of Maine. I'm not a big fan of Susan Collins, but man, she must be so happy that her opponent has literally fallen apart. But again, we don't know who the Democrats are going to put in place. But honestly, I wouldn't care at this point. I think the Democrat Party has ruined the image so much that whatever Democrat they put in against Susan Collins is not going to matter. The fact that they crapped on Pete Hegseth's tattoo, which is a tattoo of our Constitution, saying it looked like a communist Nazi symbol. They literally pushed a guy that had a Nazi symbol tattoo on his body. I have no respect for the people that endorsed him. I have no respect for parts of the Democrat Party that support this. And you guys shouldn't either. And I actually thank the American people for seeing what this was all about and for saying, I'm not going to vote for this guy. I don't think that he would have won in the general if they would have kept him on. And Elena Barbara of the base mother last night at the poll said, keep him on. Just let him stay. Let him stay, let him fall flat. But poll numbers showed He wasn't even close to beating Susan Collins. So now they have to get someone that they think can beat Susan Collins, which I wholeheartedly believe can. Now, the next segment part of segment one, as I talked about in breaking news, is Mitch McConnell. There's been a lot of speculation on Mitch McConnell, what the hell's been going on with him. And, Mitch McConnell's wife finally released a statement as Senator remains in the hospital. And, she claims he's okay. She claims everything is good. He's recovering. But like I said, legitimate investigative reporters, people like Laura Loomer, who we talked about last night, she put out some things that I don't think she would have put out unless it was true. And she works very hard, and she works in tandem with the president and the White House officials. She had White House officials tell her that the guy is in a vegetative state. He's brain dead. He went under cardiac arrest and was unconscious for like 3 days. And now guys like Scott Jennings and other senators said that they spoke to Senator Mitch McConnell for hours. When you go through cardiac arrest, you're unconscious for 3 days. You're like 84, 85 years old. You don't have any cognitive ability to really talk to anyone. And the doctors would advise you not to talk to anyone. I think he's under lock and key. I think they're keeping him private and keeping his health private like they did with Joe Biden and others. I mean, we all knew that Joe Biden had first signs of dementia. He had cancer as president, even though he wasn't really our president. He was the auto pen president. I mean, this is insane. The cover-ups from the Democrats and the Republicans. Democrats are covering up for this Nazi. Republicans, rhinos, Republicans in name only, are covering up for Mitch McConnell's health. If the guy is really in a vegetative state, if he's really out of it, then get someone to replace him immediately. As I said last night, I blame the chief of staff of Mitch McConnell, and I do blame his wife for not coming out with a statement earlier. Her husband goes into cardiac arrest and she goes off to China 3 days later. As I said last night, why does she need to go to China? What is she trying to cover up? Is she trying to clean house? Is she trying to collect all her assets so when he dies, she makes sure she's got money? I mean, I don't know if they had a prenup, but I mean, hopefully they have great life insurance. The government provides great life insurance. So I think she's okay. She will get his government pension. She'll get his Senate pension, which I'm sure is very high right now. I think these people are millionaires, multimillionaires. His wife is very well, Elaine Chao is very well to do on her own. She's done a lot of business dealings in China with her in-laws and her sister and her sister's brother, brother-in-law, her sister's husband, her brother-in-law, who is of Chinese descent. They've done a lot of dealings with the Bank of China. So, I mean, a lot of this is very seedy. A lot of this is just very so hidden and covered up on so many levels. Let's go to the next slide where it says the brief. So this is a brief about Mitch McConnell. So Senator Mitch McConnell is still in the hospital more than 3 weeks after medics responded to reports of an unconscious person at his home in Washington, D.C. So he went under cardiac arrest on June 14th. His office still hasn't said why he's hospitalized or whether he plans to return to the Senate. See the cover-ups. Political observers say with the Senate so evenly divided, McConnell's absence could have legislative consequences, particularly with the upcoming vote to increase defense spending as requested by President Donald Trump. And he's also holding up the Save America Act. Because as you know, the Senate it's not like a huge majority with Republicans in the Senate. It's a very small majority, just like in the House of Representatives, a very small majority. So Senator Mitch McConnell's weeks-long hospitalization is fueling widespread speculation about his health and growing public pressure for his office to provide an update on his condition. And I agree with this. I concur. Stop covering for him. If I was Mitch McConnell's chief of staff, I would come out with the same right away. His wife came out with a BS statement saying, oh, he's doing okay, he's fine. No, he's not fine. He's holding up things. He's delaying. It's like an excuse. And President Trump called out John Thune on 4th of July and said, we need to pass the Save America Act. It's very important. We have to have photo ID present at elections so we can have free and fair elections. And there's a lot of Democrats that feel the same way about this too, and independents. In the state of Maryland, for example, they do not require photo ID. An illegal can go in there and vote as many times as they want. I know for a fact there's 16, 17-year-olds that have voted in the state of Maryland. I know for a fact there's people that come in, they'll vote in Frederick County, and then they'll vote in another precinct in Frederick County, and then they'll vote in a different county. They'll vote in Montgomery County. I've heard it. I've seen it. I've reported on it. I know that there's illegals that walk in to Frederick County, Montgomery County, and they vote. I also know in Maryland elections, especially in Baltimore County, unaffiliated people try to vote in the primary election. We have a closed primary in the state of Maryland. And instead of the election judges saying, well, you're independent, you don't vote in this election. If you want to vote for nonpartisan races such as school board and so forth, that's okay. But instead, what they said to the voter is, well, I feel so bad that you drove all the way out here. We don't want to deny you. We don't want to deny the person's right to vote. So you get to decide if you want a Democrat ballot or a Republican ballot. You get to decide if you want to be a Democrat today or a Republican today. And they were actually giving out Republican and Democrat ballots instead of giving out provisional ballots, which don't count. That's illegal. So that's why it's very important that we pass the Save America Act, that certain legislative things go into place, like providing spending, military spending, and also providing more resources for ICE and for our DHS and for Border Patrol agents. Safety is very important right now. Look at DC. It's much safer now. I was just in DC. I didn't have to worry. I didn't have to worry at all. But you go to Baltimore County, Baltimore City, oh my God, you have to have a firearm. You can walk down the street in Fells Point and all of a sudden gunshots are being flown. It's crazy in some of these counties and some of these cities. And of course, certain people in power, they don't want to deal with the federal government. They don't want the federal government coming in and trying to assist. It's sad that they have to come and assist, but without that assistance, your city and your state are just going to go into ruins. But this is very scary that we have a sitting U.S. Senator, Mitch McConnell, who, you know, he resigned, but he's still there. He's holding up things. He's not well. He went under cardiac arrest, and the people around him, his staff, are covering up for him. It's disgusting. And let's go to the last slide. So this is according to WLKY. This is a local paper in Kentucky. Mitch McConnell's wife, Elaine Chao, former transportation secretary, was in China when McConnell was first hospitalized. She released the following statement on Wednesday. She said, quote, "The secretary was on a long planned trip in China to support her family's philanthropic endeavors, as I said before. During the trip, she met with a number of people, including the U.S. ambassador. The senator's health did not warrant an immediate return to the U.S." Again, this is disgusting. She was there kissing butt with a number of people, including the U.S. ambassador. She doesn't work for the Trump administration anymore. You know, she went on taxpayer dollars over to China. She used Kentucky's taxpayer dollars, by the way. Wasn't her own, I doubt it. It's really sad. It's really sad that we have to deal with this. She finds out her husband is in a vegetative state. She doesn't fly back to America? No. She's probably looking forward to it. Well, I shouldn't say that. She probably knows he's going to die. So like I said, she's putting things in place. She's significantly younger than him. She's a beautiful woman. She could find another guy tomorrow. Let's see how long she mourns this. Let's see how long she mourns Mitch McConnell before she finds somebody else on the side, if she doesn't already have somebody else on the side. It's very common in the federal government for you to have, for the men and the women to have side pieces, concubines, whatever you want to call them. But again, this is very seedy. It doesn't look good that she went off to China to try to close ties, keep ties, whatever she's doing over there, because she knows that her husband is dying. I do agree with Laura Loomer here. I think he is in a vegetative state. I don't know if he's on a ventilator. I mean, I know people that are on ventilators. They get off ventilators, they're okay. They die naturally. But I don't believe that. I wholeheartedly feel Laura Loomer would not have put that out there if it wasn't 100% true. And my friend Freedom from Maryland, he's on. He quoted, I assume it's a news article. He said, "Federal immigration officers merely enforce the laws that our nation's elected representatives in Congress passed, reflecting the will of we the people," said ASG Woodward, "when sanctuary jurisdictions enact laws to shield illegal aliens from federal law enforcement. It is not merely federal law that is violated, but the voices of everyday American voters silenced. Today's suit proves that this department will never stand for such lawless action from blue state leaders," unquote. Then he writes, "Justice Department sues Maryland over sanctuary policies." That's a big breaking news too, and we'll get into that with our guest. Yeah, Trump's DOJ sues Maryland over sanctuary policies. I can tell you, I've been emailing the DOJ under Pam Bondi and, of course, now under Todd Blanche about Maryland and their sanctuary policies. I have told them that the governor, Wes Moore, completely goes against the rule of the federal government. The federal government says, you can't combat ICE here. If you can't have a sanctuary city and a sanctuary county, we don't allow that. But Governor Wes Moore and Attorney General Anthony Brown and the comptroller, they're all, and the new county executive coming in, the old county executive in Baltimore County, and many others have been pushing back on the president and his policies. This is big news. This is very big news. Justice Department suing Maryland, that's a big deal. That's why it's very important who our elected officials are, who our next leaders are. Because if the DOJ is coming after the state of Maryland over their sanctuary policies, they're also going to come after any elected official that supports the sanctuary policies. Yeah, thank you to Adam, Freedom for Maryland. He says, down with the trespassers. It's about time they have made Marylanders' lives miserable with housing costs and unemployment. I agree with that too. I do. I really do. But again, this is some serious stuff, guys. This is some serious stuff. And we can't turn our back away from it. We must call it out. We must make everybody accountable. I believe that now, President Trump being back in the White House, our freedom of speech is better than ever. I can call out people now. I don't get censored as much because I have no fear. This is not the Biden administration where we had to worry about what to say. There are certain things that we can't say on YouTube because YouTube will still block us. But Rumble, True Social, TikTok, and so forth, Facebook suppresses some of our stuff, but they've kind of been backing off a little bit because Mark Zuckerberg's been kissing President Trump's butt lately. But I mean, these are serious things, and this is serious times, and we can't let this go. We really can't let this go. This is very important, guys. Very important that we call these people out, that we hold our elected officials accountable, because remember, they work for us. We don't work for them. We have to remind ourselves that. Even though they are working, even though they're part of the federal government and they're Congress and they pass the laws, we still have to hold them accountable. And before we go on our break, don't forget my sponsor, FoliumPX.com. FoliumPX.com, toxic heavy metals, full body detox, free radical support as we're uploading that. It's a super antioxidant. It's an all natural product. I love it. This is great, especially after 4th of July, because I ate stuff I shouldn't have eaten. I had kosher hot dogs, which is full of a lot of salt and seed oils. I had a moon pie, which is kosher, by the way, because I checked the label. I had kosher ice cream, which is all full of sugar and carbs and fat. But even before I went to 4th of July and after, I've been using these supplements. Everybody needs a full body detox. It makes you younger. It keeps you younger. My hair is much longer. My colleagues actually commented last night how long my hair has grown. And that's because I've been taking these supplements. And it's interesting because one side of my hair is actually growing a little bit longer than the other. It's funny. The right side of my hair is growing longer than the left, even though I sleep on my right side sometimes. But it shows the the supplements and how they work and how they've really helped my hair grow. And my hair is much better, but my ends are better. I don't have to get as many haircuts as I did before because I don't have breakage and damage like I did before. So please, guys, go to FoliumPX.com. That's the QR code. There's many discounts. There's a discount code in there. There's still discounts going on for 4th of July. You got to pounce on it. Awesome. Donald Williams said, now you're trying to give us less of you to love. Oh, you're so sweet. He's such a sweet guy. Coming up after the break, we have a very special guest. We are in, again, candidate campaign season. You may be shocked at who I'm interviewing because it's someone from a different party, but I'm giving him a platform because he was there for us. He was there for Republicans when we needed him the most. And he's in Maryland. And I want you guys to stay with us because it's going to be a great interview. And I'm really excited to have him on. Again, guys, we are live. We're live on 15 Connections, YouTube, Spotify, Substack, Rumble, True Social, TikTok, Facebook, you name it, we're on it. Also go to americaspulsenetwork.com. You can currently watch us live. Don't forget to like and subscribe. If you are interested in being a podcaster, you can fill out our podcaster application. If you're interested in sponsoring my show and other shows, you can also go on americaspulsenetwork.com and fill out the sponsorship application. Stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.
Welcome to America's Pulse Network. This is APN's very own White House correspondent, Alexandra Levine.
This is so amazing and miraculous. We've never had a president in the history of our nation doing this. And we hope to God that he continues doing this forever and ever. Thank you. God bless you, everybody. And God bless President Trump.
And God bless you.
Hello, everyone. This is Alexandra Levine with the America's Pulse Network. I am the White House correspondent right here in the heart of D.C. as President Trump is celebrating 250 years of America and the military.
Subscribe and follow America's Pulse Network on the above social medias.
Well, guys, thank you for coming back with us. I'm Alexandra Levine, live with the America's Pulse Network. We have a special treat. As you know, we are in campaign mode, but I wanted to interview this specific individual because, as I said, he has stood for Republicans. He has stood for the state of Maryland. His name is Justin Holiday. He is the Democrat nominee for State Senate in District 6. And I brought him on because he's literally running against a Democrat in the general. He's a rhino, Republican in name only. And I want the voters to decide, because I have a lot of people that listen to me from the state of Maryland. I want you, the voter, to decide which type of Democrat you want to vote for, a rhino, a guy who really supports socialism, or Mr. Holiday, who actually cares about the people, stands for the people, and stands for the veterans. And I'm so glad to have him on. Let's put him on. And there's his website.
Good evening, Alexandra. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you for thank you for being here. I do want to kind of lead in with what Freedom for Maryland said. So the DOJ, and this is a big story, they are suing the state of Maryland over sanctuary policies. What is your opinion on that?
I'm a firm believer in what the president had campaigned on in 2024 when he was targeting violent criminals. I commend his approach to that. I obviously believe that the border had gone unchecked for quite some time, and that you had many cases of violent criminals from other countries that were attacking U.S. citizens. So again, I completely agree with the president's decision to target those violent criminals that are currently in our society.
And what do you think of the Democrats in your party that are pushing back on President Trump and trying to fight him on this?
Well, again, like I said, obviously, I'm not going to advocate for situations where you may have officials going into schools and things like that. But if you have elected officials in my state and part of my party that are advocating against targeting violent criminals that are in our neighborhoods and in our communities, I think it's a little tone deaf to what's going on. So again, I don't know where the standing is with that type of mindset. Again, if you've got people that are being targeted by criminals, they should be deported. So that's my stern belief on that. Again, target the violent criminals that are in our country illegally, just as the president advocated for.
One thing that I really admired you about is you stood with us, with mostly Republicans, at a Fort Howard sign waving. And it was very important that you were there. Now, your opponent was not there, and he is the elected official. The state delegate, Mr. Metzger, was not there. Robin Grammer wasn't there. But you were there. Why were you there? Why did you think it was important to be there?
Well, I've formed a relationship with Dr. Frank, Stephanie, Dawn, that whole Fort Howard group down there. They've been really great folks, very tireless advocates for the Fort Howard community, for the veterans. So I got connected with them. They invited me down, said, come on down. It was a no-brainer for me. My grandfather, he was a veteran, again, served briefly, honorably discharged. And like I said, I'm sure we'll do a deeper dive into the whole Fort Howard issue in terms of the development project and everything that was revealed with that. But, this kind of gives me, the vibes from the North Point Government Center from back in 2014 when that was sold, right? You have a situation where you've got the community consensus around what they want that property to be. Right. There's no disagreement. They want it to be for the veterans. And then you have elected officials, members of the establishment, regardless of party, right, that if you follow the finances, right, all trails you tend to lead back to developers, especially in Baltimore County. And
Norwich.
it's pretty easy to connect the puzzle there. So again, it's one of those issues. Democrats, Republicans, Independents, everybody knows they want it to be for the veterans. And then again, just like what you had with the government center, over a decade ago, everybody wanted it to be a government center, right, for the public. And then you had elected officials that wanted it to be for, development purposes. So
Correct. I'm glad that you said that, because your opponent, Mr. Sailing, is a big supporter of these developers. Himmelrich is the main developer, who's pushing to, or not pushing, but he will be building all these Section 8 housing at Fort Howard. And the Section 8 housing, yes, it's for low income families, but the underlying meaning is the governor, Westmore, really wants these the Section 8 housing for illegal criminals as well as convicted felons. And again, it's going to affect the veterans. There's a bunch of homeless veterans that are in the Maryland area. How do you feel about, your opponent, Rick Metzger, and even your governor that is pushing Section 8 housing development at Fort Howard, which, as you said, should be going back to the veterans?
Well, I mean, looking at the bigger picture of all that, right? So Section 8 is federally mandated, right? So the issue lies is, right, Dundalk is a very is becoming a very low income area, right? The number of people renting is going up. The number of Section 8 housing is going up. Right. There's nothing inherently wrong about people that are on those things. But when you condense it into one area, as you're seeing in the Dundalk community, right? Dundalk, Southeast Baltimore County has enough poor people, right? You have these elected officials in the state and throughout the county, right, that are advocating for affordable housing, but they don't want affordable housing in their communities.
Correct.
And that's where I take issue with that, right? So again, I'm not disagreeing with the federal mandate of Section 8 affordable housing. But where the state and counties have influence in that is where they are putting those locations, and it's often funneled in the southeast and southwest sides of the county, where you have more prestigious areas that do not take their fair share of affordable housing. So that's where my issue with this lies. Is, again, you have a lot of people talking the talk, but when it comes time to walk the walk in their own communities, there's crickets. So that's where my issue lies. But again, I've said this many times. Dundalk and Southeast Baltimore County, Edgemere, Fort Howard have enough poor people, right? And that's not a reflection on the people that are poor, right? I certainly did not grow up with a lot of money. But again, when you have the government that are mandating these neighborhoods and these developments, it should be done in an equal way, or So that's what my mindset on that is. Again, no new development in Baltimore County or Southeast Baltimore County. Again, we've got overdevelopment in the area. We're losing green space. We're losing farmland. It's a bigger picture than even just sexually affordable housing. We're just running out of room. Congestion's at an all-time high. I mean, it should not take 20 minutes to get down one side of Merritt Boulevard.
I agree.
And it's just becoming even worse. Obviously, another issue I'm sure we'll touch base on with the Key Bridge collapse. That's impacted that as well. But again, I think enough development in general in the area, regardless of the type of housing that it's going to be. If they were putting new waterfronts and things, I just think enough development in Southeast Baltimore County.
Yeah, I mean, what bothers me is that they're targeting the veterans. They're targeting this memorial landmark, this historic landmark where the Battle of 1812 was held. That's what bothers me about it. Yeah. And I can tell you what I've been working on with Tim Fazenbaker and others and Frank is we've reached out to the Trump administration. We've reached out to the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, and Doug Collins to actually make Fort Howard a part of Fort McHenry and to make it a national memorial park, a federal national memorial park, so that the state cannot come in and put all of this affordable housing at Fort Howard. What say you about that idea? Do you support that idea? Do you think that's a good idea in your opinion?
No, I think that's a great idea. I mean, again, overall, I want it to be a community for veterans. If part of that can be a national protected land, then that'd be even better.
And you would love them to rebuild the hospital, right? That VA hospital that was burned in an arsenal 50 years ago, and you can't even go there because there's toxins on the ground.
Yeah, like I said, yeah. So again, big picture wise, and again, I think that's another thing too that you touch base on is reaching out to the administration, right? And that's how I intend on governing and representing this community, right? Just because you have a Democrat or Republican, whatever party in charge, right? I want to work across the aisle, regardless of who is, in charge. And I'm sure we'll touch base again this with the Key Bridge. That's kind of my mindset with that as well, is
Mhm.
working across the aisle. There should be no reason, whether you're a Democratic governor or Republican governor, that you should not reach out to the administration that's in charge to try to work together. I mean, that property's been sitting vacant for years and years and years. And this kind of goes back onto, not to go too far off the rails, but I had ran when I was a young kid. I ran for delegate.
You're still young. What are you talking about? You're still young.
when I was a younger kid, running for delegate back in 2018, I was really running hard on ending veteran homelessness, because I looked down at our neighbors in Virginia, what they were able to achieve, again, bipartisan solution. They were able to, by federal standards, end veteran homelessness in the states. And again, looking down, I reached out to the governor's office at the time, years ago. That's looking down at them. I was just like, why is that not something we should be achieving right here in the state of Maryland, when our own neighbors to the south are essentially eradicating veteran homelessness? So again, not to go too far off the rails, but I think you have a prime example here of what you could do in Southeast Baltimore County and Fort Howard of helping assist that issue by providing. There's a number of types of housing that you could put in there. I've seen examplos of condominium type housing for veterans. I've also seen small house type things where you can get as many veterans in a location as possible. That tends to be on the one I lean towards. It's the small housing that I've seen in some other states. But again, the opportunities are endless. But at the end of the day, it needs to be for veterans. When you have an issue like this, where you've got consensus across political party lines, it should be a no-brainer. But again, as you've seen, money talks, and so do political nations. So that's kind of where my frustration with this whole situation lies.
I do want to make the point to my viewers and to your voters that you are not a veteran, and you showed it. Your opponent is a veteran, and he did not show up for the sign waving of Fort Howard and many other events that we've had for Fort Howard, including Dr. Frank's events that he's had for Fort Howard and so forth. So I just want to make that note to your voters. You did touch on the Key Bridge. As you know, the bridge collapsed. Your governor has really done nothing to really progress it. He got a quote developer, to try to redevelop the bridge. But of course, the governor is asking for an astronomical amount of money, and he's asking for an astronomical amount of things. So the developer, of course, is going to rack up the bill to say, well, the bridge is going to cost $5 billion. And of course, the governor doesn't have $5 billion. And he's, of course, trying to ask President Trump to pay for the entire bridge, which is not going to happen. So, of course, Governor Westmore, blames the developer and says, well, the developer wants $5 billion, can't use him. We're starting from scratch. What say you about this whole thing? How can we get the bridge up and running? How does this affect Maryland by the collapse of this bridge?
Well, what's frustrating me, and obviously this occurred in my own backyard. I heard it the night it collapsed. My house shook. I lived so close to it. I thought a fighter jet flew by. That's kind of what it sounded like in my house. But it affected my family directly. My wife, she had worked over the bridge. Her commute went from 15-20 minutes to almost an hour. And she had to change, her job because of that. Somewhere she worked for over, 5-6 years. So again, it impacted my family, my community directly in many ways. Where my frustration lies with this is what should be a prime example of the good that government can do, whether it be federal, state, local levels, right? Those people coordinating has become a failure. And that's what's frustrating me. In my mind, this is a great opportunity, right? Something terrible that happened, but in terms of rebuilding, right? Showing America's might, showing the state's might, it should be a great opportunity where, what I want to see is the governor working with President Trump, regardless of their differences. And I'm sure they disagree on things 90-95% of the time, but that should not put aside the 5%, which again, in my mind, should be the Key Bridge, that they can work together, right? There's no reason why they can't put those differences aside and work on this together. So what I want to see, right, is remove the red tape, get the damn bridge built. At least just start one of the spans. But get it built. Given everything that's occurred, they've kind of divvied up I think the Board of Public Works divvied up the project into several different projects now. Given astronomical costs, I think that was the right move, just to get something rolling. But my concern is the longer this takes, the more the price is going to skyrocket. I know there's been some debate whether the federal government is going to pay for everything, but my concern is the longer this takes and the more that price skyrockets, I'm not as confident that they're going to pay, all of it or any of it.
Well,
So
the issue is that, Governor Westmore said it was going to be rebuilt by 2028. Now it's being pushed to 2032. Now we're looking at like 2034, which is crazy. And it's really affecting the trade. It's affecting Amazon. It's affecting Trade Point Atlantic. It's affecting McCormick. It's affecting all of these big companies that reside, in Baltimore, that relied on that bridge. And I think they said 30,000 people or 34,000 people drove back and forth every day because of that bridge. I was one of those people, and I used to drive at 1:30 in the morning.
And I think that's not to cut you off, but I think I'd seen a report somewhere that a lot of the local businesses have lost 30% of their profits on both sides of the bridge, because you have the people in Dundalk that would go over to Pasadena and vice versa, and people have seen their door traffic and profits drop by over 30%. So again, what I really want to see is, again, federal and state officials, regardless of political party, work together, remove this red tape. And I'm sure you're going to touch base on the special session. This is one of those examples. I would have loved for this upcoming special session to be revolving around the Key Bridge.
Yeah.
But again, I very much as a resident of Dundalk and neighbor of the Key Bridge really want to see those two working together again. Again, I understand they disagree on 95 or more percent of things, but this is one I think if you have Governor Moore and President Trump working together, right, getting rid of the red tape, streamlining things, and just getting those crews out there, those construction crews that are dying to get out there. I'd really like to see a miracle happen. Obviously,
and I love to hear this coming from you. As I said to my viewers, Justin is a Democrat, but he's like a common sense Democrat. He's like smart. He's like, we got to get these things done. President Trump is the president, regardless of party. We got to get these done. And I love that he's saying these things. Your opponent won't say this. Your opponent claims that he loves President Trump, but he's never contacted President Trump. He's never done anything to work with President Trump. I know that when you get in there, you will work with the president. You've made it very known. We have you on record, but I believe it. I wholeheartedly believe that you will work across the aisle, as you will work with Tim Fazenbaker, as he will be the next county councilman in that district. I know that you will work across the aisle with him. And I know that you and him will make Dundalk great again and make it better. And we say #save Dundalk, because Dundalk really needs saving.
So you've seen representation in this area, cross party aligns with a Republican governor and now a Democratic governor, since you've had the current, my opponent in there. And I'm just not seeing the results that we were promised back in 2014. So again, that's why I'm running. There are several issues that have kind of kicked gears on why I jumped in, but it's just, again, walking out the door every day, driving through this community. Again, I'm not seeing the results that I feel like I can deliver on if the voters of this district give me the privilege of going to Annapolis on their behalf.
Yeah. One thing I do want to talk about is energy. I know that's a big part of your campaign as well. As you know, we have something called Trade Point Atlantic, which is between Baltimore County and Baltimore City. As the next state senator, you will be working with people from Trade Point. Tell us your platform of that. When you become the next state senator, how will you work with Trade Point Atlantic to help the energy in Dundalk and so forth?
Well, I mean, energy is probably the biggest thing in terms of utility costs in Maryland, and that's probably the biggest driving force of I've got a young daughter that took a lot of time for me to consider whether to jump in this race or not, being a dad. But going through the winter and having a BG bill no less than $500 throughout this winter was probably the single most driving force of me jumping into this race. Again, just astronomical prices. Obviously, Trade Point, just as Beth Seal was years ago, is the driving force of our local economy. So, working with them, if we can get certain energy companies down there, importing more energy materials down there, again, whatever they need, I think, you should have the state. I mean, it's larger than even just Trade Point in this state, of what we need to do to open up this issue of just reliability on importing energy from other states, having zero competition among energy suppliers, and that's probably one of the most frustrating things for me. I mean, I think I've seen a report the other day that we are currently paying the most in energy bills across the country right now, and I believe it. So again, working with Trade Point, working with state partners, and just again, what I want to see is opening up nuclear facilities across the state, tapping into resources perhaps in Western Maryland. Again,
Pennsylvania, they even talked about.
Yeah, like I said, and that's just, again, obviously, Pennsylvania, our neighboring states, West Virginia, they're going to have more natural resources than we are, but we still have natural resources in Western Maryland as well that I don't think we're tapping into. And that's something that frustrates me is, you have, members of both parties, obviously probably more so mine, that pride themselves on getting the green badge because we're not tapping into some of those resources in Maryland. But what people don't see is that you're just importing that energy from neighboring states, and you're still having the same, drilling that's occurring in the environment. So in terms of actually saying you're going green, it's kind of a two-sided coin there. So that's kind of something that frustrates me. And the one that takes on the cost is Marylanders because they're paying to import it rather than tapping into their own resources. But again, to me, I'd really like to see us incentivize competition, as other states do, where you, again, if PG is charging you $500 and their competitor's charging $300, then you have the right to jump over to their competitor. So we don't have that privilege here, and you're pretty much at the whim of PG and the state of Maryland.
Yeah. One of the biggest things also is a concern in your district is Back River. Back River, as you know, you can't fish in it, you can't swim in it, you can't eat the fish in it. It's really bad. There's a lot of contamination. I believe there's hexavalent chromium in that water. I've been trying to bring Aaron Brockovich to Back River to do some tests. I think it has to be worse than it already is for her to come over, but I do see her coming over in the future. As the next state senator, what is your plan to fix Back River, to fix that sanitation or that wastewater sanitation plant?
I mean, obviously having, regulations of federal and state is, but we've had that. So obviously you want that. You've had the state come in. To me at this point, obviously dealing with this for years and years and years, and really the smell, regardless of what,
it's worse.
The smell is not getting any better, regardless of what people say. The nose does not lie. So
I feel like I'm getting COVID every time I drive by I-695.
Yeah. So to me, it really comes down to, at the end of the day, I think the only solution is what I would like to see is Baltimore County control of the waste treatment, Back River waste treatment facility. Again, the city, it's just years after year after year of, and then obviously a byproduct of that is the whole midge issue that I'm sure you're aware of, that residents, especially on the waterfront have been dealing with, and fishermen and people that go out in the water that are constantly dealing with, and you see the helicopters and things flying by. So that's a whole other issue. But I'd really like to see the state permit the Baltimore County to take ownership of the facility. Obviously, if it's your own county that's running it, they're going to have more interest in how it's being run, and that it's being run properly. When you've got another jurisdiction that's controlling it, it's not really in their backyard per se. I'm not confident that the concern is there compared to if Baltimore County had control. So that is one that, again, working with members of the General Assembly, talking to whoever the governor is, and working with the Baltimore County and Baltimore City jurisdictions to try to get ownership of that. And really, honestly, I don't see why the city really wants to hold on to it at the end of the day.
No. I mean, look at this city. This city's horrible. They have E. coli poisoning in their water. I mean, and you're dealing with, Brandon Scott, who's a horrible mayor.
So like I said, I just think that's the easiest thing is not. I mean, it's going to be a hurdle. It's not going to be an easy job to get done. But I just think in terms of all the possible solutions out there, I just think Baltimore County controlling the facility is the one that can really remedy this issue compared to anything else that's out there, because you've had the regulation, you've had the decrees and things that have gone through, and again, the issues, the smell, the midges, it's all persisting. So again, try maybe being an intermediary between the mayor, the governor, and whoever the next, or the next executive.
I was going to say, I do want to say for the record to your voters that your opponent and Delegate Rick Metzger, they went down there to Back River and they said everything was great. There's nothing wrong with Back River. The sanitation waste power plant is phenomenal. We don't need to fix it. Voters need to know that. It's on video. You can look back in the video in the archives that every time Mr. Sailing and Mr. Metzger don't go down to Back River, they compliment it. They say it's great. And you're hearing it from, right here with Justin is saying it's not great and he wants to fix it. But you have you're the elected official who's, again, I hate to say it, I don't want to say the word lying, but he's misinforming the voters that everything is good. So people need to know this.
I'm also a football coach, and there's not a football field in this area that you cannot catch a whiff of, of that treatment center. So, and that's some of those football fields go pretty deep into Dundalk and Edgemere. So, if you can spell out every single one of those fields,
and Sparrows Point, you can spell it in Sparrows Point too now.
Oh yeah, you definitely get a whiff. So, and I'd like to say it's not home field advantage, but we'll take what we can get, I suppose. But I'd rather not have that home field advantage.
Exactly. Just a couple questions left for you. So as we talked about before, there is a special session opening on August 3rd to 5th. And like you said, instead of it talking about the Key Bridge or Back River, like really important issues, they're focusing on redistricting or gerrymandering out Congressman Andy Harris, who's the only Republican congressman out of the 8 congressional districts. In your view, do you think this is worth taxpayer dollars? Do you think this is worth your time? If you were the state senator, would you be thrilled to go down to Annapolis during this time? What say you about this?
No, absolutely not. No, you again, if the members of my party wanted to enact this, and they obviously have a supermajority down there and the governorship, they could have during those 90 days of the session. Now, obviously, you had the election take place. A lot of those folks have secured not just the nomination, but most likely, their general election races. And now you've got, a flip and people jumping over to a special session. So now, again, with all the things going on in this state, whether it be the Key Bridge, energy costs, gas costs, things that could provide real relief to Marylanders across the state, I don't think this is a good use of taxpayer dollars at the end of the day. Again, especially after you're just coming off a 90-day session where, again, if you wanted to do it, you could have got it done. But again, if they came out and announced that this is to streamline the Key Bridge or, eliminate and empower Maryland off our BG bills, I would have said, get me down there as soon as possible.
And they're taking 2 days, the 3rd, the 4th, or excuse me, 3 days. 3 days for this, the 3rd, 4th, and the 5th. Why do we need 3 days for this?
Yeah, and it's likely it's not going to be enacted for this cycle anyway. So again, in terms of using taxpayer dollars, if they were going to do it, could be done next session. So again, with everything going on in the state and people's pocketbooks, dwindling day after day, I just think it could have been better suited for Key Bridge, BGE, or any of those things. So no, I would not have been a fan of going down to Annapolis for redistricting.
So this question is kind of important. So many Republicans that I've talked to in your district, they like you. They really like you a lot. I believe that you can get a lot of Republicans across the aisle to vote for you. I wholeheartedly believe that. I really do, especially hardcore Trump supporters, to be honest with you. And as we saw in the primary, there are a lot of more hardcore Trump supporter Republicans than the rhinos, to be honest with you. We saw that with Dan Cox, a former state delegate, winning the primary again. But there are some Republicans that are still afraid that a Democrat going to Annapolis is going to fall in line with the majority party. What say you about that? Are they wrong?
Look, I am as independent as they come. I'm going to reflect the needs of this district, Democrat, Independent, Republican, whatever it may be. Again, I've lived in this community my entire life. I know what the politics of this area are. It's a gritty, blue-collar community that prioritizes and the American dream, right? There you've got hundreds of stories of the American dream, whether steel workers, people owning businesses. Again, I want to reflect the needs of this community. Again, I'm not going to be a party line guy. I'm not going to vote the party line. Again, I'm sure I could tell you 100 issues that I disagree with my party with. I'm going to vote the needs of this district. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to be out there in the community talking to these folks, right? Just as I've been doing since I announced my race, just as I've been doing the years prior. So I'm going to be out there having town halls, consulting people, listening to the voters and to hear what they want, not what the party bosses, not what the developers want, not what lobbyists want, but what the people in my community want. And the way to do that is being out there and listening to them, and I know you touched base that you've got, Trump supporters that are supporting me and like me. And again, I like them. Again.
Oh no.
And
you cut off for a minute. Go ahead.
We're not going to get much done if we don't work together and put some of those differences aside. So again, do I have a D next to my name? Yes. Is that going to reflect?
Maybe I'll be a Republican. I'm just kidding.
No, but like I said, and I think we've talked about this, and I've talked about others before. Like I said, my grandfather was a Democrat, right? He was a steel worker at Beth Steel. Obviously the Democratic Party from that era is much different than the current one I'm in.
It is.
People have told me, jump.
You're like a Reagan Democrat, if we want to be, technical.
And like I said, that's kind of where I'm at with this is, again, you can I don't want to jump ship, right? I believe in fixing what's broken. I disagree with the path that sections of my party are going with. And I think the way to fix that is to stand firm, fight back, and stand with you believe in. I'm a capitalist Democrat, right? I believe in a capitalist economy. I think you can be a pro-labor Democrat, right? Those two things require each other, right? You can have a big business and you can have a union membership.
Yeah.
But that's the only way I think to grow this economy is by having a strong capitalist free market system, and supporting.
And what's interesting is I know A.L.L. Sr. was always a Democrat, tried to primary out Westmore, and didn't do it. But then he switched parties, while he was running because he thought he could win as a Republican, and he didn't. You, on the other hand, you have stayed a Democrat, even though you. I feel in my belief, you want to work with the Trump administration, and I feel that from what we've been talking about, that you do have a lot of Republican talking points, or the fact that you just said you're a capitalist Democrat. Like, you don't hear that nowadays, and and being a moderate Democrat doesn't even exist anymore. I don't even I would say you're even in between, like a Republican to a moderate Democrat. You know what I mean? Like, you're in between, which is phenomenal. Why didn't you switch parties? Why didn't you become a Republican like A.L.L. did?
Well, I think voters see through that, right? I think it would be a disservice to Republican voters. Again, at the end of the day, again, I think some folks, said in the comments, some of the Republican voters had or activists in the area said I'm a Kennedy. Kennedy,
you are,
and so much so I named my daughter Kennedy. So that assessment is true. So again, where you had obviously JFK was very steadfast against.
He would be a Republican today. They said if JFK was alive, he'd be a Republican.
It's possible, today. But again, so that's kind of where my belief is that that's the Democratic Party that I feel like I'm rooted from, having a union family, steel worker, automaker, right, longshoreman. That's kind of what I'm rooted in, is that traditional blue collar Democratic pro small business, and anti-communism stances. So that's where my belief is. So I think it'd be a disservice to Republicans. Again, I think I'd be.
So you wouldn't support.
I'd be doing a disservice to myself in terms of not standing up for what I believe in within my party, and then I think Republicans would again see trade, because at the end of the day, right? Like I said, I am a Democrat. I own the label. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm not on that Bernie Sanders wing of the party.
I'm glad that you said that. So you wouldn't support Graham Platner, for example.
Well, I think that whole situation. I think the warning signs were there, months and months ago, and I think you have a lot of folks in the party having buyer's remorse with that.
Because you are running in a very Republican district. Your area is very Republican, very conservative. Dundalk, Sparrows Point, Edgemere. You do have Essex. You do have some Rosedale in there. So you will be fighting to try to get those Republicans across the aisle to your side. You're going to have in my opinion, a high dose of Republican turnout for you to get some of those Republicans. And you'll have Democrats, supporting you as well, and some independents. Of course, there's some Democrats that are running that are more progressive. So you're going to have to kind of cut through that red tape of, I don't want the progressives so much. I'm going to more so campaign to get more of those, hardcore Republicans and some independents that used to be Republican and switch parties because of Larry Hogan. They didn't like Larry Hogan. So you have to get those guys across the aisle. So how can you do that? How can you get some of your opponents, Republican voters, across the aisle to you?
Well, I think the thing about me is I think my stances have always reflected the needs of this district. I've not walked that ideological line. I think some folks were touching base and debating, and in the chat, because they were expressing justifiably so. Again, some concerns with my party affiliation. But again, I've remained consistent since I've been involved in politics, since I first ran in 2018. I've always remained consistent with my views, and they've always reflected the needs of this community. So And I know you touched base on Democrats, Republicans, progressives, all those. I'm not taking any vote for granted, whether it be a Republican, Democrat. I intend on going throughout this community and earning every single vote that I can. And I think the way to do that is to focus on the issues that are impacting everybody, just as I've done. And that's why I continue to, in my belief, add on to this coalition of Democrats, Republicans, as you touch base, not even, as you touch Rhino Republicans, but MAGA Republicans. And I think they respect me because I reflect the needs of this community. I work alongside them and I listen to their concerns.
And I wholeheartedly believe that if you get in and Tim gets in, that you and him will do some great work together. I can tell you, there's controversy between Tim and your opponent because your opponent actually acts like a more progressive Democrat because he does shake hands with Governor Westmore. He shook hands with Bill Clinton. He shook hands with all these hardcore Democrats and moving to the progressive side of the Democrats. And Rick Metzger does the same. And I really admire you because you're willing to work with not only your voters, but the hardcore Republicans that are going to be elected, such as Tim Fazenbaker and so forth. Are you also part of your Democratic Central Committee as well?
I resigned to focus on the voters of this race. So I previously was a part of the.
Now, how was that? How was that Central Committee?
Just as interesting as interesting as the Republican one. I think all Republicans. I'm sure I know as Tim experienced, he was on the receiving end of that. So that whole witch hunt there. But so again, it's frustrating. But again, you've got to be a logical voice, and I know you touched base on Tim. He is a logical voice in the party, and when you're up against establishment voices and the powers that be, you're going to be, cast out and cast to the side, and people are going to come at you. So, but you can't be afraid of that. So again, but when you stand up for people and everyday folks, again, it's going to piss off people like the developers and the special interests. And again, it's just as Tim has experienced. But again, at the end of the day, the people had their say, and now Tim is the nominee. So. Again, I think you're seeing a wave of people being fed up with the status quo around here. And I think you're starting to see some of the members of the political establishment on all political lanes starting to get a little worried. So, like I said, I don't think this wave is going to be necessarily Republican wave, Democratic wave. I think it's going to be based on the voters that are looking at the candidates that are out there on behalf of the community that are standing with them. And seeing who's not. So
well, I can vouch that a lot of voters that I talked to, especially during the primary, they were fed up with a lot of the incumbents. So I really feel that you have a big advantage. And like I said, I wouldn't even say you're running against a Republican because the guy's a Rhino, Republican in name only. You're really running against a Democrat and a more progressive Democrat. And you can even say in your campaign that a vote for Mr. Salling is a vote for Westmore because they will be doing a lot of work together, which you don't want. You really don't want, because like you said, Westmore is not working with the president. He's not going to work with the federal government. The DOJ is suing your state over sanctuary policies. That's a reflection of your governor and your attorney general. So those are some real great campaign points that you can use to try to get those Republican voters, in my opinion, across the aisle to help you. And obviously, having met you, that's something I want to tap into as well as with your relationships, right? I would love to be, God willing, I'd love to be an intermediary. If I could get, President Trump and Governor Moore to put some of those differences aside on behalf of residents of Southeast Baltimore County, I think everybody would be gleeful with that. So, but again, it requires you to, you've got to put pride to the side at times, and do what's best for your constituents. So I can tell you that Tim and I and Frank and Delia Bablong, we've been working, trying to get, like I said. The Secretary of Transportation here, Sean Duffy, the EPA Director, Lee Zeldin. We need these people in here because
put them all together. Put everybody together and don't let them out until we get a solution. Because like you said, it's not impacting just the people that depend on the bridge as well. It's also impacting people that did not depend on the bridge because now you've got so much congestion going on for the people that commute up 695 and things of the sort. Mm-hmm. So. Again, it's just enough is enough. We've got to get some progress going. We've got to get that bridge up and running.
Well, this is great. I'm glad that you came into the Republican arena.
Anytime.
Anytime. You were great. No, you were great.
I appreciate it. Like I said, I always say again, if John Adams and Thomas Jefferson can form a government, like I said, I think I can go on to a conservative podcast. So
exactly.
yeah.
No, I really appreciate you
This is what
coming
America-
on. I really do. And I do wish you luck on your race, and you'll probably see me in the next few months campaigning hard.
I
So
appreciate it.
it's a pleasure, Justin. And this is your Justin's QR code. This is his website. If you like what you heard tonight, give the guy a donation. Republican, Democrat, Independent, it doesn't matter. We have to get the right person in office. I said last night, I don't really recognize myself as a Republican. I call myself a conservative, a constitutional conservative. I don't go by labels. I always put principle over party. And I believe this time the voters are putting principle over party. And I believe that you, Justin, you put principle over party too. And you totally displayed that tonight. And, God bless you for running too.
God bless you. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And don't forget, guys, we have our second sponsor, Richardson Nutritional Center, rncstore.com/ALL. That is the QR code. You get a 10% discount. The more that you spend, the more you save. If you don't type in that QR code, if you don't type in ALL, you do not get the discount. Again, it's all about natural. As you know, I'm a natural person. I believe in natural supplements. RNC Store really helps prevent against cancer. If you have cancer, if you've had cancer, if you're trying to get pregnant, you're having fertility issues, if you're having autoimmune disease, or if you have autoimmune disease, if you have anything with your immunity, if you just got off a cruise and you have walking pneumonia like I did, take these supplements. These will help you. So go to rncstore.com/ALL. That's the QR code. Stay with us, guys. We are live on all the channels, Rumble, True Social, TikTok, Spotify, Substack, Facebook, you name it, we're on it. Stay with us. We'll be right back after the break.
Hi, I'm Alexandra Levine. I'm a professional opera singer, actress, TV, and radio personality. Since 2015, I've been a volunteer, a field director, and a campaign manager, learning the ins and outs of the political world. That's why I became a political consultant. My job is to lead you to victory with organization, structure, and the mindset of winning for your district or state. With my guidance and direction, I can keep you focused on the things that matter to the people and advise you on key issues that need to be addressed. If you're a serious candidate that is serious about winning, then book a consultation with me today. Go to levineconsulting.co. You'll be happy you did.
Well, thanks, guys, for staying with us. We had a wonderful interview. It was actually one of the longest interviews that I've had for a candidate, but I really loved what he had to say. And he wasn't from my party, but he had some great things to say. I'd really look into his campaign. Regardless of political party, like he said, you got to vote for the right person in office. And I believe that he would be a very great state senator for the district. I really do. So segment 3 hones on Iran and what's been going on with Iran. Let's put up the first slide, that real Donald Trump. So to honor our brave men and women of the military, we are sending the brand new and truly spectacular Air Force One to Middle Hale Air Force Base, United Kingdom, to give them a chance to tour the aircraft. Everybody is so excited, and we thought that they should be the first. For old time's sake, we'll be taking the former Air Force One from Turkey to Middle Hale, a short trip that is totally worth it, or totally worth doing in order to give our great military heroes a chance to appreciate our beautiful new addition to the Air Force fleet, President Donald J. Trump. Now, I can tell you that originally President Trump, he flew over he used the plane that he got from Qatar. There was threats coming from the Iranian government that they were actually threatening to kill him while he was in Turkey. As you know, Erdogan, he does support Hamas, but he is a part of NATO, down with Netanyahu and so forth. And, Turkey has a very powerful government. I mean, Erdogan wants to be like the king of the Ottoman Empire. He would love the Ottoman Empire to come back, which we don't have anymore. If we had an Ottoman Empire, we wouldn't have an Israel. But President Trump made a split decision with his team to switch aircrafts because the plane from Qatar didn't have all of the ballistic missiles that it had and all the protection that it needs to protect the president. So the president said, we're going to drop it off in England, have the troops look at it, inspect it, sit on it, whatever they want to admire it. And then we're going to get back on my Air Force One, which is more protected and I feel safer at and safe from threat. and go back to America and go back on our way. And that's really something to note and something really important, that Iran was actually planning to kill the president while he was in Turkey, while he was in the capital, Ankara. And of course, President Trump has been trying to sit down and negotiate with the heads of Iran, and they say one thing, they do the other. They're liars and they're scum. And he made that very known in the press conference with Secretary of State Marco Rubio right behind him. Let's show the clip.
Mr. President, Tyler Pager with the New York Times. Last month, you said Iranian leaders were very rational people, nice people to deal with, strong people, smart people. Today, you said they were scum, sick people, and being led by sick people. What changed, and do you think they're—
I got to know them. I've said that about a lot. Now, when you say rational, I think they're much more rational than level 1, level 2. Level 1 is gone, level 2 is gone.
So there you have it. President Trump said they're scum. Marco Rubio was smiling and laughing because they are scum. And when President Trump was saying level 1, level 2, meaning we leveled them off. We're leveling Iran. Their nuclear capability is pretty much gone. As you know, the United States bombed some of the biggest nuclear power plants in Iran. And Israel, they're fighting back. President Trump is giving Netanyahu the green light to combat these Iranian mullahs as well as Hezbollah up in Lebanon. I mean, President Trump said ceasefire's done. I mean, we're going to bomb the hell out of them. I mean, these are enemies of the people. They have tried to kill President Trump. They've tried to kill Netanyahu. They came into this country illegally. We have illegal Syrian, illegal Lebanese, illegal Iranian refugees into this country under Obama and Biden, and we got to get rid of them all. And President Trump has done everything he can to work and try to negotiate. And as we always say, you can't negotiate with terrorists, but President Trump is the best dealer when it comes to deals. And I have full faith that he will make sure that Iran doesn't obtain nuclear weapons and bomb everybody, because they're not just really coming after Israel. They're coming after Christians. They're coming after America, Canada. A bigger country is the best for them, because Israel's just a small country. Netanyahu said this. We're a small country. We're nothing compared to America. What happens overseas happens in America too. And everyone's like, we need to be more America first, America first, America first. This has to do with America first. The president of the United States is putting Americans first by going overseas, by trying to negotiate with these people, by working with our biggest ally, Israel, by working with NATO. And as I said last night and the night before, President Trump really held Spain their fuel to the fire, because Spain has been anti-Semitic and they've been pushing back on us. And President Trump said, you know what, Spain, you keep acting like assholes. We're not going to help you. We're not going to give you any money, no more trade. Screw you. To the point where the Spanish president's like, no, President Trump, no. I'm so sorry. I don't mean to be an asshole. I won't be an asshole anymore. I'll conform. I'll change. I'll do whatever you want. I mean, a lot of these people, they're kissing the ring because they're stupid. They're stupid not to work with Trump. They're stupid not to work with America. And we have to protect our biggest ally, Israel. It is not going against America first to stand and support your biggest ally, Israel. And, I think it was today on The View or yesterday, stupid former Congressman Marjorie Taylor Greene, she attacked the Jews again. She keeps attacking AIPAC and other Jews. She keeps saying that AIPAC is working with Israel. That's not what AIPAC does. AIPAC is an American organization that is run by American Jews that are there to help primary out socialists, and they do promote Democrat Jews, but they don't work in tandem with Israel. They don't involve Israel in our elections. That was all bullshit. And I don't like Alyssa Farah. She used to work for Trump, but she turned on him. She's like a never Trumper. But I do give her credit for pushing back on Marjorie Taylor Greene, holding her to the fire and screaming the facts and not letting Marjorie Taylor Greene spew out the bullshit. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she was told by Joy Behar, we got to go. And she's like, why? I want you to keep me for the whole show. And Joy Behar said, no, I don't think so. I mean, a lot of Jews own, the media. They own the cable television shows. And this woman is just spewing out anti-Semitic rhetoric, propaganda. And, she's saying that AIPAC got rid of Thomas Massey, which is not true. She said this person AIPAC got rid of this person. AIPAC took out this person because they don't like them and da-da-da-da. I mean, you listen to this crap. This is how a Holocaust starts. You have one person that's shitting on the Jews. And and I'm glad that Alyssa Farah, put the kibosh on that. Enough is enough. And this woman, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she sold her $1 million home in Rome, Georgia, and got a $5 million home in Costa Rica. I mean, you might as well just become a citizen of Costa Rica, Marjorie Taylor Greene, with her freaking loser of a fiance. This guy, Brian, who used to work for, or he still works for Real America's Voice, he gave up his White House press credentials for this whore. I mean, she's a whore. I mean, she cheated on her husband when she's in Congress. The woman is a whore. She'll probably cheat on her current fiance too. I mean, why would he do that? And by him doing that, he supports what she supports. That's the only reason why she married the guy, because he supports what she supports. And he gave up his White House press credentials because he can't stand and support President Trump because his wife or his fiance does it. And he bitched that, you know, President Trump was attacking his fiance. Well, she's a whore. She's a loser. I mean, she quote, in my mind, is irrelevant. You know, her voice is gone. She's not a congresswoman anymore. But her rhetoric is very dangerous, and she is a part of that alt-right movement of the Republican Party that hates Jews and is pushing this anti-Semitic rhetoric and is spewing out, we shouldn't be helping Israel, we shouldn't be giving military arms to Israel, screw our ally. I'm tired of it. That's why I really hope that Republican Jews and Democrat Jews really think about who they're going to vote for in the general. You do not want to vote for someone that spews out anti-Semitic rhetoric, that is a part of the alt-right movement. And you also don't want to work with somebody that is a part, or not work, but vote for someone that is a part of the progressive socialist movement of the Democrat Party. So you really have to kind of like, you know, figure out what, you know, who do you want? Who do you want to represent you? Again, it's not about party anymore. Please, if you're a Democrat, don't just vote party. If you're a Republican, don't just vote party. Vote for the person that represents you. I wholeheartedly believe that. And like I said, there's a lot of hardcore Trump supporters that support Justin Holiday because they like what he has to say. They like that he's willing to work with the Trump administration, that he wants to support our veterans, as opposed to the elected incumbent, the rhino, who doesn't want to work with President Trump, claims that he does, but he really shakes the hands of the devil. And he shakes hands with Governor Wes Moore, and he's happy voting for high tax hikes for the people of Maryland. His friend Rick Metzger supports expansion of Obamacare, supports all these things that are not good for the people of the district. Dundalk, Essex, Edgemere, and parts of Rosedale and Sparrows Point, they're hardcore conservative people. They are capitalists, just like Justin said. They're capitalists. What's wrong with being a capitalist Democrat? What's wrong with believing in capitalism? I wholeheartedly believe that. Ed Hale didn't call himself a capitalist Democrat, and he switched parties because he thought he could win the primary. And guess what? The voters saw right through it. They wanted someone that was pure. They wanted someone that was real. They wanted someone that didn't have to switch their party in the middle of an election cycle. I mean, you have to think of all these things, guys. Let's go to the next slide at Real Donald Trump. So Real Donald Trump, this has to do with what's going on in Chabahar, Iran, how, man, I mean, this is retribution for yesterday's bombing of ships by Iran. If it happens again, it will get much worse. You go after an American naval ship or any ship. If the Iranians come after American naval ships, you're going to get blown up to pieces. Nothing wrong with defending yourself. And that's what President Trump is doing. He's defending Americans. He's defending our ships. Let's go to the next slide. And again, emphasis on the new Air Force One. He said, we just landed and met with our new Air Force One, which was sent earlier to Rafe Middlehale, so we could show the wonderful service members as per the entire base's request. They're very excited. Please, picture enclosed. It was our way back to the States from Turkey with virtually no deviation of flight path, President Donald J. Trump. And again, he switched the aircraft because there was a threat against him from the Iranians. You know, when President Trump goes to a foreign country, especially Turkey or any of these foreign countries, you know, he's at risk. What's interesting now is Bahrain wants to get involved. And Bahrain, as you know, is a part of the Abraham Accords. They support Israel. So now we have Bahrain, we have Sudan that's involved. We have a lot of the countries that signed the Abraham Accords are going to get involved. More countries are going to be signing into the Abraham Accords, if I could speak, such as Saudi Arabia. They're looking at Jordan. They are looking at Lebanon without Hezbollah being ahead because Hezbollah is being destroyed by Israel. Hezbollah is a terrorist organization. We have to get rid of as many terrorist organizations as possible to keep our country great, to make our country great, and to keep our allies safe, and also to keep American citizens that have dual citizenship and so forth safe. It's very important that we continue to help our allies and to help American citizens. But it's also important to note that, thank God, President Trump is our president, because he's America first. He supports our troops. He supports Americans. It's very important that we have someone in power that cares about us, not like Biden or Jill Biden or Obama or all these people that are bought and paid for by special interests and lobbyists. And that's the truth. And do we have one more about real Donald Trump, or that could be the last one? Right? Oh, and then we have this one, our last one. So this is from OSINT Defender. Local officials have now confirmed that U.S. strikes indeed targeted Iran Shahar Airport / airbase in the southeastern Iranian city of Irashar, which is partially utilized by Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Aerospace Force. So this is awesome. So U.S. strikes, they targeted this airport airbase, which is united by the Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. I mean, again, take down this Islamic regime. Take down the Ayatollah Khomeini's. Put Reza Pahlavi in there, the Crown Prince. Let's get him in there. But again, the Iranian people have to step it up too. They got to take back their country. Iranian people have not stepped up. And I know a lot of great Iranians. Step up. I know you're afraid. The U.S. is on your side. Israel's on your side. The people that support Reza Pahlavi, they support Israel too. Get on board, guys. Get on board. There's no reason why you can't support the Crown Prince. There's no reason why you can't support President Trump. You can't support Israel. It was interesting at CPAC this year in Dallas. It was like Iranians for Trump. I felt like I was in Iran, because you saw the old Iranian flag with Reza Pahlavi coming in, who had heavy security. Like nobody knew when he was coming in because the security had to be so tight. And then President Trump didn't show up, but you had the American flag and you had the Israeli flag, American flag, and the old Iranian flag being held together. I mean, I did interviews with people that were Iranians for Trump. I mean, it was great. It was really great to see that. And we need to see that. We need an Iranian leader that supports Israel, that supports the United States. And that's Reza Pahlavi. But we have to take down the head of the regime of Iran right now. They're horrible people. They're liars and they're scum, just like President Trump said. And he couldn't even pronounce one guy's name. He said, Mohammed, what's his name? Mohammed this, Mohammed that. Something of a name. And it was funny because Marco Rubio tried not to laugh. He was trying to be hold his composure, but you got to laugh at this stuff, because these are people that literally their army has been demolished. Their nuclear power plants have been demolished, and they're still trying to they're still trying to act like God, or they're literally the devil. And as you know, President Trump always gets the last word in the end. He always wins in the end. And so it's very important that we support President Trump during this time. I know he wants to end the war before the general election comes. And as you know, he's planning a big convention September 9th through 10th in Dallas, Texas. It's like a mini midterm convention before we get to the general in November. So it's really important, guys, that we really read the news, see what's going on. And again, don't get so damn emotional. Take a step back before you get so emotional and you say, oh, Trump is this. Why are we in war? Trump is this. There's a reason for everything. As I always say, trust the man, trust the plan. There's a reason for everything. And I agree with Donald Willinger. Iran made the mistake of attacking Turkey and other Muslim countries. I agree with that. Donald Willinger said Turkey has tried to help. In America, we appreciate Turkey's help. I know we will mention them many times during Thanksgiving, LOL. And I agree with Donald Willinger. He said some countries simply don't understand our president's IQ. I agree with that too. President Trump is a very smart man. He's no idiot. He's no dummy. You know, as we say on my show, youarenoidiot.com. He's not an idiot. So we really have to, remember that, hone in on that. And I agree with Donald Willinger. He is no idiot. He will be there to help us, to guide us, to support us. He wants the best for every American. That's why he was reinstalled in 2024. I would love to see him president for a lot longer, but we'll see. I hope that whoever his successor is just as good as him or is like him. Speaking of successors, again, we are in election mode. We have a few campaigns that we are supporting and endorsing. Of course, I mentioned my good friend Tim Fazenbaker, who is now the Republican nominee for Baltimore County Council District 9. He is going up against the Democrat progressive machine of Westmore and Julian Jones, the woman that he's running against. She claims she's a moderate Democrat, but she's having it's called the Black Halls of Fame with Julian Jones and some other people. I mean, it's very sad that it's come down to Tim's election being about race. You know, it has nothing to do with the qualifications of the person. It has to do with the race. And Westmore is all about race, and he's all about putting as many Black people in as possible. They call them DEI hires. He's called himself a DEI leader. Him and Brandon Scott are DEI leaders. They look at the color of your skin. They don't care about your qualifications. I mean, if I was Tim's opponent, I wouldn't even be involved in this. It looks very bad for her, but that's what's happening. His election is based on race. And you don't vote for someone based on their race, based on their gender. You vote for the person that is the right person for the job. So please, guys, go to timfazenmaker.com, give that man some money. He has been running on a very pro-American platform. He supports Fort Howard. He doesn't want Fort Howard to go to the developers. He wants to fix Back River. He wants to fix the environment. He wants to fix the economy of Dundalk. He wants to hashtag save Dundalk because it definitely needs saving. So please go to timfazenmaker.com, make a donation today. We also have my good friend Justin Murphy, who is the Republican nominee for U.S. Senate, New Jersey. That's a very tough race. It's a hard race. He's going up against the incumbent Cory Booker. Cory Booker is a disaster. He's an anti-Semite. He's another Black power type of guy, hates white people. And it's so funny. He calls the Republican Party, you know, white supremacist, but, you know, he really is racist against white people, and he's very anti-Semitic. So we need to put Justin Murphy in there. He's doing great. He's touring all over the state. He's a busy guy. Got to give him a donation. The New Jersey GOP needs to support him. The RNC needs to frickin' support him and give him some money because this is a big national race that can be won, but we need the right people backing him, and we need the proper people backing him. And of course, our good friend Damon Galdo is the Republican nominee for CD1 in New Jersey. We love him. That's his QR code. He does the Jersey Shore every Monday night from 8 to 9 p.m. And he's also hosting the Pulse with us every 8 to 9:30 p.m. on every, I mean, he's been hosting almost every Wednesday night. I feel bad for the guy. But I just, again, we need to get proper conservatives in office, proper people in office. Again, regardless of party, put principle over party. Just because Damon and Justin have an R across their name and they live in a liberal state does not mean that they don't have a chance to govern. And they will work with Democrats. They will work with independents. They want to do what's best for the district and for the state. And as you see, you have a terrible governor, Mickey Sherrill. She's awful what she's doing to your state. And we can't, and your lieutenant governor's awful, your attorney general's awful. I mean, New Jersey is just really bad. And New Jersey had the opportunity to flip it and put Jack Ciaffinelli in there, who I really thought was going to win, by the way. I really thought Jack was going to win. But now you have a chance to redeem yourself and put these two great Republicans in, these constitutional conservatives, these Reagan Republicans, Damon Galdo, and my good friend Justin Murphy. And of course, we have another campaign, Kayla Hamilton. We interviewed her mother, Tammy Nobles. Kayla Hamilton, of course, was murdered by an illegal alien from El Salvador. She was raped and murdered in her home. And I mean, they're 80% of their goal. I know their goal is 50K. I would like to make that 100K, but bring Kayla Hamilton justice because she didn't get justice. And Tammy Nobles is an angel mom. She's been working with a lot of other angel moms. She's been on Fox News. She's been on a lot of big networks talking about her story, talking about Kayla, to bring more awareness to families, because this is real. This is real life. To lose a child, especially over what happened to her daughter, it's horrible. And, you know, we talked about the Gormans the other day and how her daughter was shot in the back of the head. Her daughter was older. Her daughter was in college. But it's stories. Not stories. It's a phone call from a police officer you never as a parent want to receive. You never want to know that your child's been shot, your child's dead, your child's been raped, your child's been dismembered. It will haunt you for the rest of your life. So if you have any compassion, any sympathy, any empathy for this woman, what they're going through, please give a donation, $50, $100, $150. I'll be donating very soon. I usually donate anonymous. So if you see some anonymous there, that's from me. But this woman needs your help. This woman really needs your help. And we need to bring Kayla Hamilton justice, because we don't want this to happen to any other American citizen. That's why we have Thomas Homan as the border czar. We have Wayne Mullen as the DHS secretary. We have President Trump as our president, and to bring justice. And that's why you have Todd Blanchard there as the DOJ, suing states that go against President Trump's sanctuary policies, as well as his DHS and ICE policies. And of course, don't forget, we have the Conservative Corner once a month with our friend Seth Eisenberg, Sunday nights from 7 to 8:30 p.m. We love him. We call him Popeye the Sailor Man. We do have the Pulse every Wednesday night from 8 to 9:30. Sometimes we go over. We went a little bit over last night. Great show. We have Elena Barber for the Base Mother. She's usually one of our special guests. I'm usually hosting. Damon Gallo is normally hosting. Seth Eisenberg. We all do a rotation. It's a phenomenal, phenomenal show. Of course, you always have my show every first and third Tuesday of the month. And then you have Jack Brangan and Constance Sissel with the New Jersey State House, or the second to the fourth to sometimes the fifth Tuesday of the month. And then I'm on every Thursday night from 8 to 9 p.m., sometimes 9:30 like tonight. But we love what we do. We appreciate all of our viewers. We appreciate everybody who watched tonight, that commented. I have a lot of friends that do watch that don't comment. And of course, to our special guest tonight, I really appreciate him coming on and coming into the Republican arena. And we encourage anybody to come on our show. My show is very open. Anybody wants to come in. Yeah, thank you, Donald. I appreciate that. I believe that Tim is going to win and Damon will win. They're great men. They have a great message. They live in districts that need them, and the people need them. And Tim is very good at crossing the aisle, getting Democrat and independent support. And I believe that he will win. I believe that Tim is going to be is going to be a phenomenal county councilman. And he's going to do for the people. And I believe that Damon will be a great congressman too. Justin Murphy will be a great senator. All these people will be great. We just have to get them. I can tell you, Tim's district, we need high Republican turnout. If we do not have high Republican turnout, he will not win. The early voting and the actual primary election day was the lowest turnout in history in Maryland. Lowest Republican turnout in Maryland history. And the Democrats are going to come out in Maryland because it's a gubernatorial race and it's all Democrat incumbents. Please, guys, please, Republicans, come out for Tim in Maryland. Come out for Damon. Come out for Justin. But especially where Tim lives, because he lives in a hardcore Republican area, we need high Republican turnout or he will not win. We need you guys. We really, really do. And again, thank you so much. Again, you can always like and subscribe us at America's Pulse Network. Go to americaspulsenetwork.com. Check out our website. If you're interested in being a podcaster, please fill out our form. If you're interested in sponsoring the show, please fill out the sponsorship form. Thank you guys for watching. And the reason you listen and the reason you watch is you are no idiot.
America's Pulse Network. The mainstream media is bought and paid for. The truth is twisted to fit their agenda. But America is waking up, because podcasts are the future for trusted media. Welcome to the America's Pulse Network. It is a network built by patriots that upholds the Constitution. The America's Pulse Network stands for God, truth, and the America First movement. There is no corporate propaganda, no government spin, just real news, real talk, and real voices fighting for faith, freedom, and the future of this great nation with common sense. Here are some of America's Pulse Network podcasts. Alexandra Levine Live, hosted by Alexandra Levine. Jersey Shore Podcast, hosted by Damon Galdo. The Conservative Corner, hosted by Seth Eisenberg. APN's The Pulse, hosted by Alexandra, Damon, Elena, and Seth. So tune into America's Pulse Network on the following social media platforms: X/Twitter, Rumble, Truth Social, Parler, Facebook, and YouTube. Join the revolution, because the pulse of America beats for God and country. America's Pulse Network is for faith, family, freedom, and truth.
Alexandra, thanks you for watching tonight's Alexandra Levine Live podcast. See you at the next packed show, from breaking news to informative topics that will keep you informed. So please click the subscribe button to get notified for upcoming episodes. If you like what the Alexandra talked about, then share the Alexandra Levine Live podcast with others. Alexandra also looks forward to seeing you on the next upcoming episode.